Please give a warm North Carolina Verge welcome to Aaron from Rocketbolt. Hold off on the timer for like a minute. Hey, my name is Aaron Dinin. I'm one of the co-founders of Rocketbolt. I'm here to tell you about our intelligent lead tracking platform. It's going to help you close more sales. And a bit of background on us, Rocketbolt comes from conversations with sales teams at hundreds of companies, many very well-established companies. And in talking to these companies, what we found is there's a segment of those sales teams that are really struggling to adapt to what is a massive industry shift. It's an industry shift away from outside sales and towards inside sales. The problem is that inside sales creates a marketing funnel that looks a bit like this. It's kind of really wide at the top and gets really narrow at the bottom. Now, that works really well if you're going after a very large market, but one of our customers sells these. Quick question, how many people in the audience are in the market for a satellite right now? There's always one, right? I got a great deal on some used satellites out back, really low mileage. Interest rates are out of this world. You see how those kind of pitches don't really work when you're selling a satellite. No, the way you sell a satellite is by building relationships. Of course, how do you build a relationship in an inside sales environment? Well, it's all about getting to know people, tracking leads, monitoring leads, looking for reasons to engage, and then organizing that data somewhere. If you're lucky, you're using a big clunky CRM, something like Salesforce. Ugh, God. Or more likely, the number one tool we see people using is this. Microsoft Excel. Now, if you're one of those people with a giant list of leads inside a Microsoft spreadsheet, and it's okay, I was one of you too, you're going to love Rocketbolt, because Rocketbolt does all of the lead tracking and monitoring for you. And then it delivers you the most important information using these beautiful real-time activity feeds. So you can immediately see strategic sales opportunities and you can take action at the perfect moment. Now, to show you what I mean, I could pull use cases from any of the nearly 150 companies registered into our beta already. But the use case I'm most familiar with is actually the way I use Rocketbolt. You see, we're a startup, which means we're often fundraising. And it turns out getting great investors, well, it's a lot like selling satellites. By that, I mean you can't usually close an investor in the first minute you meet them. Normally, it's a relationship you build. It can take years. Well, Rocketbolt is a great way of organizing those relationships. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom you into my Rocketbolt feed for a minute and kind of show you how I use Rocketbolt to build those kind of strategic investor relationships. Now, to do it, there's an investor that I happen to know is in the room. I'm suddenly having trouble seeing him. He's supposed to give him the fireside chat. Where are you, Scott? Oh, there he is. Thank you. Well, so Scott is an investor in the area, which of course means he's in my Rocketbolt feed. So I know what's going on. Let's see what Rocketbolt's been telling me about Scott. Sorry, Scott. Last week it told me that Scott is an investor in David Gardner's new fund. So that's interesting to know. Congratulations, David. That's some amazing stuff. And it's good to know that, because maybe if I need an intro to David, maybe my way in is to get to know Scott well, right? Good to know. Another thing Rocketbolt told me is that, interestingly, I guess, Scott, your daughter must have just launched a startup of her own down in Charlotte. So I got alerted to that. I don't have much use for clothing for women between the ages of 19 and 35, but if I did, it would be a good way to connect, right? The point is, I'm not really looking for something to sell Scott with. I'm looking for a way to connect with him on a personal level. Now, where that really comes in play is things like social media. So Rocketbolt's going to tell me when we have something in common in social media. For example, let's say I'm a big hockey fan. Well, the other day, Scott tweets this. New York will beat Tampa, Anaheim will take Chicago, then Ducks in 6 over Rangers. Heard it here first, #NHL. Well, what better way to bond with someone than to give them a gentle sports ribbing? So Scott, allow me to be the first person to say, next time you go to Vegas, take me so I can bet the exact opposite of everything you've done. But what I'm doing, right, is I'm looking for opportunities to connect with these people. And so it's not really about selling. What it is when he comes across Rocketbolt in some sort of organic fashion, say he's sitting and talking to David Gardner, and David says, hey, what do you think of that Rocketbolt company? I don't want that to be only the second time he's ever heard of me. I want that to be like the 52nd time. So he thinks, oh yeah, Rocketbolt. I keep hearing about that company. They must be doing something right. So I've turned my outbound interest into him, into inbound interest in me. And so what he does, he eventually comes to my website. And of course, I know about that too. I get an immediate notification even to my phone saying, hey, Scott Moody is on your website right now. And that's my moment to shine. I'm going to send him a perfectly timed email and say, hey, Scott, man, we made some great projects and pitching at The Verge. Would you be interested in an update? And he gets that email and he thinks to himself, what a lucky coincidence. Of course, it was never coincidence. Instead, we like to think of it as manufacturing serendipity in the sales cycle. This is the strategic opportunity that great salespeople know how to use all the time. It just takes tons of work to find those opportunities. Well, now anyone can be a great salesperson, and all they needed was Rocketbolt. Thank you.
Want more secrets from inside the minds of entrepreneurs and innovators around the world? Subscribe to our YouTube channel here and click the link below. We'll send you our best interviews and strategies for growing your business.